Welcome to the Proctor podcast series, presented by the Samuel Proctor Oral History Program at the University of Florida. Founded in 1967, SPOP is one of the largest oral history programs in the country, with nearly 5,000 interviews. SPOP, one community, many voices.
I was born in Tallahassee, Florida, November the 20th, 1929, on the campus of Florida A&M College then, and now it's Florida A&M University. My father was an instructor at Florida A&M for 33 years. Graduated from Florida A&M in 1951 and volunteered for the Air Force. I served for 4 years in the Air Force and was discharged with an honorable discharge by request for that, and that I was accepted at Meharry Medical College, School of Dentistry, in the class of 1955. And I graduated from Meharry Medical College, School of Dentistry, the class of 1960. I came to St. Augustine, and we were getting adjusted and kind of feeling our way into the community. And the civil rights movement was going fairly well all across the country. There was a movement in Tallahassee with the city bus boycotts and everything else, led by Reverend C.K. Steele and Reverend Dan Speed. And all of those people knew me from my youth in Tallahassee and everything. So we had a kind of a working relationship. Well, Reverend Thomas Wright was the advisor to the NAACP Youth Council in St. Augustine, and his wife was a school teacher. But once in the public school system, once he became involved as an advisor to the Youth Council of the NAACP, and that became known within the community because the young people had begun activating themselves into picketing and demonstrating before segregated business establishments. Well, his wife lost her job because of his activities and all. And he knew that he could not support a family. I think he had 2 or 3 kids. And on the salary he was receiving. So he moved his family to Gainesville. That left a vacancy. So the young people came to me in my office and said, Dr. Hayling, Reverend Wright has to leave town or has left town. Would you consider being the advisor to the NAACP Youth Council? And naturally, I had no reason not to, so I said, yes, I would. And therefore, they started, or went back to what they were doing, picketing various business establishments and so forth. And when it became known that I was supporting, well, first of all, pressure was put on the national NAACP office in New York to curtail or try to damper down the activities that we were doing in St. Augustine. I even received a call from the national director of the NAACP saying that St. Augustine was too small, that it could not support a full-fledged civil rights movement. And therefore, he would suggest that we curtail some of our activities, and one thing and then another. And I had, after thinking about it, I called back and allowed him to know that as a veteran of the United States Air Force and a native Floridian, and being the leader selected on the scene, that whatever I thought and the young people thought was the best for us to do, we were going to do. And if he had somebody else on a national level or something that could do a better job than I was doing, then send them on down to St. Augustine. But as long as I was in charge. I was going to do what my mind and what the circumstances dictated. And a day or two later, the request came back that I was hot-headed and headstrong and would not take directions and supervision, so the national organization was going to withdraw the charter for our youth chapter. And I told him I would make it even better. And we packed up his charter and put it in the mail, special delivery, return receipt, and so forth. And that meant for a couple of weeks or more, we were operating without a national organization supporting us. But we were determined, and the young people were determined not to allow anybody to put a damper or curtail the activities that we were doing, because we thought we were right, and especially in the nation's oldest city, because St. Augustine had black people living in 11 different areas of the city. And St. Augustine had never registered to me or anyone that I knew as an extremely racist community. But as things unfolded, we found out that the white-collar people of the city, in fact, Dr. Shelley, Dr. Norris, and quite a few of the professional people, including the president of the Exchange Bank, Mr. H.E. Wolf, and all of those people were John Birch Society people. And then the sheriff and the Manusi crowd and all of those kind of people were Klansmen and all. It just didn't match. The city and the powers that be claimed that I inflamed the atmosphere of the community by saying that I was going to shoot first and ask questions later, especially after my home was shot up and my dog was killed within the house. If my wife, who was pregnant with my third daughter, had not gotten up when the dog started barking to go to the bathroom, she would have been killed, because they shot up my bedroom also. The dog was killed within the house. They shot high with high-powered rifles, and they shot low. And the bullets that low went through the door and killed the dog. I had said that I would protect my life, that of my family, and my property with all the vim, vigor, and vitality at my command. I got labeled as the father of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 because Lyndon Johnson had convinced Dr. King and Andy Young and everybody else involved, and many of the other civil rights groups, because I've since met with Julian Vaughn, and John Lewis was our speaker last July for our Freedom Luncheon we have in St. Augustine and all. And everybody was literally exhausted and extended to tremendous means. And they had consented to a 2-week cessation of civil rights demonstrations. And when they got to St. Augustine, we told them that we had been tricked one time. We wouldn't concede. And therefore, Dr. King made an appeal. I told him I loved him like a brother and whatever, but we weren't going to give up our leverage this time. We were going to continue to demonstrate and picket and what have you. And lo and behold, they moved the time up. They forgot about the 2 weeks cessation and whatever, and moved it up to July the 2nd, 64, and signed the Civil Rights Act. So that's how I got that label and so forth. And that was about the end of it, because we had to take many stores and private businesses in St. Augustine to federal court to get them to comply, even after the Civil Rights Act had been signed in 64. So, and since then, in 03, the city named the street where my house sat that the Klan shot up is Dr. Hayling Place. I make frequent visits back to St. Augustine, and I shall try to educate my 2 grandsons along the line that when you're right, stand up for your rights.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Proctor Podcast Series. For more information about our program or interviews, please visit our website at www.history.ufl.edu/ORAL or call us at area code 352-392-7168. That's 352-392-7168. SPOT, one community, many voices.